Careful. I said careful, you stupid machine. Not make enough noise to wake up the IC unit.
Oh, what was that?
Oh great, you've woke him. And weeks before he was even meant to wake. Either he has healed faster than predicted or your instruments were off and we've been using a broken bot for weeks.
What on Tarja am I doing in here?
You're in the Oakwood Hospital IC unit. Take a guess why you're in it.
Well, I don't know. I don't remember much at all. I've never even heard of Oakwood Hospital.
Well, you've regained consciousness weeks before predicted. It's not surprising you can't recall everything at this moment. Just stay still for a second while I check your readings. Bot, please perform diagnostic scan. Focus on the brain.
Yes. Initiating diagnostics procedures. Subroutine brain analysis.
Alright, how about you tell me the first significant thing you can remember? Whatever it is, and I mean whatever. If the first thing that springs to mind is bribing or accepting a bribe, then I don't care. Whatever horrible things you've done are safe to be spoken in these walls. That's part of a service I'm paid for. Discretion, that is. And I have a reputation as a reliable person to maintain.
Who pays your wages then?
Let's just say if you looked at my clients, I'd make the average hospital look like a public service. I need you to start thinking back. It'll help with your recovery and make your brain work hard enough for me to scan. And remember, I don't care if the first thing you remember is murdering a secret relative pretending to the throne, or if you strangled a baby to death. I've heard worse.
That's horrible. You've heard worse than people murdering children?
Please stay on topic. Let's start with your most recent memory, and then we can go from there.
Alright then. An argument, if you could call it that, with my father. He'd found out about a string of properties I'd been buying up.
The point is, it's time you had something of your own to be responsible for. Every duke and count your age manages a tract of their own farmland, or soon will. And don't tell me you can't. If you can manage and expand a private property portfolio under the nose of others, you can easily handle the farming estates titled to you. You've had your fun buying up local business, and I'll admit I didn't think you had the brain or guts to do it. And you've shown you are at least somewhat competent. Even if it is competence in paving yourself a path off the face of a cliff.
Why should I give up what I own? I bought the businesses the same way they all like to do it, save for some proxy managers and offshore accounts. Everyone employed are all no worse off. Hell, I'd say some are better off under my management. With what little power I have now, I've provided a better life, or at least a life no worse than expected on this planet, for thousands of workers. And all the credits have furthered their interests, not mine. The credits don't accumulate in some corporate coffers to pay off shareholders, or for buying ridiculous personal ships. I help them. If I can do all that now, what could I do in 10 years? Or even when I'm king?
Nothing. We and the nobility control the agriculture, and besides rare exception, just the agriculture. Accumulating power outside of that sector is a fast track to scandal and ruin. Your position granted you the abilities to provide guaranteed contracts and steady work to your own businesses, cutting out competition. While you would call it good business acumen, others call it abuse of power.
Isn't that what power is for? Isn't the whole point of the crown to use its power for the betterment of its subjects? I don't even wear the crown yet, and I've provided thousands of workers a better future without them even knowing it, which is more than any minister has ever done in a decade. If they actually did something productive and served the people who elected them, then maybe I wouldn't have felt the need to do their damn job for them. I know one time I used to ask what good were people like us when people could be ruled by the fairly elected, but now I find myself asking what is the point of them, when I alone could sweep the rug out from under half the problems plaguing us, while they sit bickering and undoubtedly lining their own pockets with as much credit as possible before they lose their seats in an election.
You're acting like it's unusual for people in power to abuse their positions. But what were you doing with your secret business empire really? Did all the money really go back into furthering some lonely miners' lives, or was it furthering your own interests? I looked into your enterprises and the people you employ, and while they are no worse off, to say you provided a better future for them is either a lie or delusional. The money you made could have gone into workplace safety equipment or pensions, but instead it's either gone into buying up more failing businesses or used for your own personal expenses.
If I spent all the credits made on pensions, safety and doing the right thing, there'd be nothing left to expand or to keep a reserve with to do what was right later. If I hadn't bought them out, they'd have gone under anyway, leaving all they employed jobless and out on the street. I'd say I've already done right enough by them. A stable job. That's what I've given them, and it's a damn lot more than what an employer bending to the whims of competitive market does. They cut loose workers like chaff from wheat every day. At least people I've employed don't get fired for getting sick. I've done all this already, and what has our dear Prime Minister done? Argued for months about the possibility of voting for a reform to work laws that was then debated for weeks before being rejected, because the new policies would have left their pals unable to buy a new gold-plated car every month.
So you only really give your employees what you can without leaving yourself too limited, meaning you only do the right thing when you can afford it and not inconvenience yourself. You're no different to the rest then, really, are you? You just happen to be able to give slightly more because of your blood, and that makes you think you're a better man than the rest. Isaac, you eat food. Real food. Worth more than the average car people can afford over the course of a week. Are you really so much better than the rest of them?
Yes. If I could run a nation like the first few kings and queens did, not just some tracts of bloody cabbage land, then doing the right thing wouldn't be so bloody hard. If I didn't have to keep everything secret and compete with ruthless money-hoarding fat cats whose leaps and bounds are made off the backs of 100,000 employees, then I could do so much more.
Oh, how far you've come and gone. You know you used to love the idea of equal representation. From there you've gone to full-blown absolutism. But there is a reason rule by the many outlasts the rule of one, and that's diffusion and denial of responsibility. You want to be responsible for an entire nation, then the entire nation will look to you and blame you alone for all its problems. And we know from history that's a great way for kings and queens to get their heads cut off. That's what elected parliaments are for. Taking blame and then getting elected out to be replaced with a brand new party with a fresh, clean reputation to soil. They lose an election eventually, and a new lot come in. Rinse and repeat. Oh well, at least you won't dissolve this monarchy deliberately out of spite. You'll just have us dissolved by Parliament and people for being a class act megalomaniac.
I am not so incompetent. I know what people would say about my thoughts.
But you are foolish enough to actually carry out your insane idea and secretly buy enough property to employ some 20,000 people and an equal amount of miners.
Minerals right now sell for more than they've done for centuries, so of course a few mines were worth acquiring. Hard to find any mines to buy though, so well, maybe I went a bit too far with that, I agree.
You had lawyers forge lawsuits and fines until they were under enough strain to sell. Too far is an understatement. Where did you even find people outside my contact network to do that?
I'm not some good-for-nothing, does-nothing prince. I figured out how to get my own contacts without you. The People's Voice Party have their own friends in law circles, and they owe us, or rather me more specifically, for a favour or two, and I just pointed them at some less reputable employers that I told them I had interest in seeing removed.
Socialists in league with an aristocrat. How quaint. Get rid of it. All of it. If I found out, someone else could too if they knew where to look. I want it all gone by the end of tomorrow.
Like hell. What am I going to do for credits then? I have arrangements with others I need to keep up. Have you noticed the cliff drop in space piracy recently? They didn't just get bored and leave, that's me paying the Chancellor Arnulf to turn German buccaneer guns on void ships other than ours.
I did notice. Well done, want a shiny medal for doing the right thing. Oh wait, you supplied him at first using reserves from our own funds, and then funded him from illegally owned properties, and took funds meant for Station 8. Why, you may have saved a couple hundred Decker lives every month and some time in shipwrights for repairs, the economic effect, is insignificant. The Germans didn't raid any exports or imports going between us and them, and all they did before was occasionally hit cargo bays and steal the vacuumed contents.
Credit spent on that patently pointless patchwork prison palace would be better spent on your drinks. That wreck is a money sink that would be better off scrapped. Even if not wholly better for the economy, what I used your money for has had an infinitely better effect than what your spending has had, which was nothing.
Get rid of it all. If you want something that badly, you can have all your titled farmland and estates. About time you took up your responsibilities anyway. The credits they make will no doubt net an income better than whatever you make off tailors and cinemas too. Not even 100 proper mines could match a proper farming estate. And even cabbage, not that we grow much of it, sells well. We may only own the farmland and all things agricultural, but we own a lot of farmland. A lot. It's more powerful than you may realise, and we have an army of lawyers and loyal courts keeping it under our ownership. The money we make from it is nothing to scoff at. Then there's taxes, but if you play it right, you can always shave off some percentage of that tax.
Fucking great, I guess. We're useless and doomed to one day be dissolved as soon as one bad ruler comes along. But at least the price of cabbage kept us minted in times of civilization-wide famine.
This is a kingdom, not an interplanetary soup kitchen. I believe you said it yourself to the Chancellor. It's not our job to feed everyone. It's not my fault half the Germans are starving, so if they want food they can pay for it. Now terminate your stupid little franchise empire or I will, and you won't see the outside of these walls for months. And no social visitors, including that Countess Ackerman.
You're threatening to ground me. Wow. Whatever.
How did that all end up? I'm not curious, and I don't care in the slightest, but recalling it is good for your memory.
Cut it all loose. The business had to go under to erase all connections, truly.
That would have left everyone you employed in need of a new job.
Yeah, they all ended up on the street again. Homeless, some of them. A few probably never found work again, and are still on those streets. Some will be dead by now.
And that doesn't bother you at all? Because of you they all ended up where they are now. In another job at best. Homeless or dead at worst. And if they had a family to support.
Not really. The same thing happens every day everywhere. Miners are dime a dozen workers whose own mechanical arms are property of the employing company. They get sick or injured, and they're out. The same goes for the rest of the working jobs, and I bought properties going under anyway. What happened to them was going to happen anyway. It just happens that it was my hands holding them up when they were dropped. It was me who caught them the first time to only drop them later. Without me they would have fallen with their failing businesses the first time around.
Still, it was you who dropped them. Quite unexpectedly too. They had no warning or even formal dismissal. Just dropped deeper into a black hole society has dug for them. And you made that hole a little bit deeper for them.
I'd say they never got out of that hole in the first place. They just fell further down it when I had to cut the rope. What are you, my conscience?
No, but don't you think you should have one? Especially people who hold the fate of so many in their hands. You could just tick a box on a single piece of paper and affect thousands, millions. Someone like that should have a conscience, shouldn't they?
People who care for everyone end up having no one left to care for. You help everyone, you help no one. Those at the top can't afford to help everyone, or someone else will take your place. Better to stay alive than ruin yourself for the sake of a nobody. A statistic.
Well, never mind that. What's your next memory?
Do I bore you so easily?
I'm not much for the philosophic debate about the morality of kings and the free market. Besides, I fear I know your arguments and beliefs inside out. Next memory?
Wait, how long ago was that? What day is it today?
I don't know. You tell me.
Just tell me.
It's Thursday.
What is the date?
I can't tell you. Next memory.
Alright then. Not that you'll believe this next one, which is for the best, I suppose. An inspector, who works for some kind of council agency that supposedly keeps us safe from space monsters. I'd been waiting on him to explain something, but instead of a file like he promised, he turned up in the flesh himself. Of course without any forewarning that he was coming.